I'm sure you've heard the term before, compress your irons, but the majority of golfers have this completely wrong. And there's so many misconceptions out there. So today's video is really going to help clear it up and make sure you maximize your irons' true potential. Make sure you check out this video. So today is all about compressing your irons, and I just want to quickly cover what that really means, because the majority of golfers have got this completely wrong, and it's not their fault. There's just some bad info out there. The majority of golfers think to compress the golf ball, you've got to hit more down on the golf ball, and that is not true. To actually compress the golf ball, we are just making sure that we're taking some loft off the golf club. So our handle is forwards, but that doesn't mean that I am hitting down any more on the golf ball. It just means that impact, I'm making sure my hands are slightly in front, and that's taking some loft off the golf club. That's how we really compress the golf ball, by creating some shaft lean, which is de-lofting the golf club dynamically. We can actually get the bottom edge of the golf club towards the bottom of the ball. The ball will strike a little bit higher in the face. We're going to pass on more energy from club to ball. And that's what we're really talking about when we're talking about compression. It's maximum efficiency from the golf club. It is not, as I said, hitting down and down and down. If you give many golfers, the majority of golfers, if you gave them that intention of hitting down, they're going to really struggle. Our hands reach their lowest point of the golf swing at the last parallel position before we hit the golf ball. So if you're not new to my channel, you'll have heard me talk about that before. That's the lowest point of my hands in the golf swing. My handle is actually rising into impact, as is my lead knee, my lead hip, my lead shoulder is moving up into impact. The reason the club is still swinging on the way down is I've got to release this angle in my wrist. We call it down cocking the wrist. So the club, yes, is moving downward, but you ask golfers to hit down and they're going to go too steep. They're often going to actually make a movement this way, very much from out to in, and that's a real no-no. I'm going to share with you first a great exercise to get the hands a little bit more forward, something where you've got to go a little bit above and beyond, almost an over-exaggeration exercise. Then I'm going to touch on the two reasons why you may not be able to get your hands forwards at impact, and you do need to check up these points if you're struggling to achieve this. So the exercise, we're just going to, I've got here a 7-iron, but I'm going to move the ball forwards like a driver ball position. I'm going to keep the club back where it normally would be. So the club is 1.5 club heads widths behind the golf ball. The ball is way up near my lead heel. I'm just going to make a half swing, and I'm going to aim to try and hit the ball low, like a low punch shot. Now, obviously, if I actually was trying to punch, I'd move the ball back in my stance, but this exercise is designed to make us work a little bit harder to get our handle forwards rather than making it easier. So ball forwards, club back, half golf swing, and I'm going to try and finish with the club not much past my hands. So I'm almost trying to get the sensation that's my finish position. Now in reality it's probably going to be here, but I won't have released the angle as much. Low driven shot. You can see the club is past my hands, but not excessively. I'm exaggerating that feel of having my handle forwards into impact. Let's give it a go. Again, that's going to help us de-loft the golf club dynamically. It's going to help our low point, or control the low point of the golf swing, so get the divot at the right point. Again, there's a misconception the divot needs to be way after the golf ball. You should be hitting the ground at the same time of the golf ball, would be the ideal here. So ball way forwards, club back, little half swing, low finish position, almost like I'm driving the golf ball forwards here. So that's the sensation I'm really looking for. Now there's lots of exercises you could do. You could quite easily just use an impact bag, a smash bag. I would again tend to get the ball, or the bag in this case, forwards and aim again for this low driven finish position, the sensation that I'm actually getting my lead wrist ahead and maintaining this position. Now in reality, the lead wrist has to go from flexion to extension. through impact here, but when we're trying to exaggerate the move, we're going to almost try and get the feeling that our lead wrist is in flexion a little bit longer. So the impact bag stuff can help. It could just be an old cushion, of course, of some kind. Something you don't mind hitting, potentially tearing. So check with the wife first. In terms of why you may not be able to get your hands forwards into impact, the first reason would be club face position. So a lot of golfers struggle with this. If you have the club face excessively open, which is where the toe is up in the air at that last parallel position, or worse still, the club face is pointing up in the air, you will struggle to get your hands forwards because your brain is knowing that you've got to actually get the toe to move quicker. So if we had the club face open and we have our hands forwards, we're only hitting that in one direction, way out right of target for a right-handed golfer. So the golfer ends up having to flip. So I would encourage you to look at your club face, or at least your wrist angles on the downswing, and seek advice if you're really struggling to get your hands forwards. I'm not going to go too much detail on this. I will put some links here talking about the wrists on the downswing. So if it's an area you struggle with, I've got some great drills just here I'd encourage you to look at. The other thing would be excessive path. So if you had the club way, or the club path traveling way into out or out to in, so the club a long way behind your hands, a long way in front of your hands, again, you're going to struggle to create that correct shaft lean, because if the club's behind you, again, I've got to use some excessive hands to try and catch up. And if we get the club out to in, we could have our hands forwards, but we'd be pulling everything for right-handed to the left of the target. So we'd struggle with that movement. So if we're out to win and having our hands forwards, we're likely to hit it at a very low left ball flight for a right-handed golfer, potentially some big divots. So again, the golfer tends to compensate and start to lean back to add some loft to the golf club. And they'll do that automatically. It's not a conscious thought, it's very much a subconscious. So the drill, or the best drill, I believe, is that ball way forwards, club back, trying to hit that low driven in shot, and then trying to get some of those same sensations. So I'd go back to normal position. I'm going to make a little half swing still and aim again to finish with that club low. Okay, so almost the club isn't passing my hands. Now that doesn't mean I hit down on the ball anymore. I'm still getting the sensation that my handle is rising into impact. It's just that it's rising and my hands are forwards, rather than this way where I'm adding some loft to the golf club at impact, or wrong where I'm actually trying to hit way down onto the golf ball. So start with some half swings, build it into a three-quarter, build it into a full. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit a full one here, trying to get that same sensation. If you've got use, left that one a little right, I think, not bad. If you get the option to go and get some measurements done on a launch monitor that's going to give you some club data, so something that's going to give you some accurate data, just Google what the loft of your golf club is, then look at what your dynamic loft of the golf club is, so what we're actually producing at impact. We should be de-lofting it by about a club, so ideally we want to take a 7 into a 6 into a 5, so we want to take around 4 degrees of loft off the golf club. A lot of golfers are hitting it with the same sort of loft because their hands are level with the golf club rather than forwards, and I measure somewhere they're going the other way. They're hitting it way too high, really high launch angles, adding a little loft to the golf club. So these drills would be really good for them. And just understanding how to compress the golf ball from handle forwards rather than that thought of swinging more down on the golf ball itself. I hope that video helps. If it does, hit the thumbs up, share it with as many golfers as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content just like this. Right now, YouTube is suggesting the next video of mine that's relevant for you. It's just here. I'd encourage you to click on it and check it out.